Okay, so welcome back. So still going with a series of looking at the classes, all the classes from Classic to TBC, looking at what changes with talents, abilities, rotations, all that sort of stuff. Some of them are a bit lengthy. The last one I done was Paladin, which, yeah, that was actually lasted a lot longer than I thought, but there was quite a lot of changes to go over. Shaman's probably not going to be an exception because we're now looking at a class that's historically in Classic only been a healer. You know, maybe alright, PvP specs, you know, elemental's fine and stuff like that, but from a PvE perspective is what I tend to focus on. And now we're getting 2 specs with a Shaman, extra specs, you know, on top of Resto, so all 3 are now viable in raids. So Enhancement I've had loads of fun on. It's going to be good looking at the Enhancement talents and what they bring. I mean, the amount of hit they get just from talent is crazy, and the amount of raid buffs they give. And if you're playing Alliance and you're going to have a Draenei Shaman, you're now getting the 1% hit for casters in the party as well, which is like an amazing racial. So we'll jump straight into it pretty much. Just make sure you like, subscribe, check out the giveaway. This channel's grown so much over the last week. I'm really grateful, so keep subscribing if you're watching this for more content for Classic and TBC. There's going to be loads coming, so you don't want to miss it. Make sure you ring the bell as well so you get notifications when I post. But at the moment, with the lockdown, I'm posting pretty much every day, apart from today because I've been hungover all day. But I'm trying not to drink tonight, and it's going well so far, but it's still early. So let's just jump straight into it. Right, okay, so we're going to dive into this. I don't need to mention liking and subscribing, so we can get rid of that. You've already done it. So what we're going to be looking at, so we're going to firstly look at talent changes, so talent changes between Classic and TBC. We're going to look at what new abilities you get. Then we're going to look at how do both of the above, so how do new talents and new abilities affect your rotation, or the basis of your rotation. What's the PvE and PvP viability of your class and spec. And then just some closing thoughts from me, so just my personal opinions on the class after playing it. Let's go. Right, okay, so let's get into Shaman. I said in the intro that this one was going to be quite long, but actually looking at it, I don't think it's going to take too much of your time at all. So we'll just do what we normally do. We'll kick off straight with talents. So we'll have a little look through. So convection and concussion. As I say, I'm only going to go over the major changes, which, to be fair, they've done a good job with the Shaman talents. There's they've made all the specs really. What's that mob doing there? Made them viable. Right, okay. So first tier has remained unchanged completely, so exactly the same between Classic and TBC. Obviously, for those of you who have not seen my other videos, so this is all part of a series. I think we've done 4 classes. This is the 5th. This might be the 4th. I don't know. I can't count. So yeah, we'll go through the talents and we'll go through the abilities. You've seen the intro, so you should know what's going on. So first tier has remained unchanged. Second tier has also remained unchanged. When we get down to the 3rd tier, so Elemental Focus has now changed. So currently in Classic, I'll just read it out to you. So it gives you a 10% chance to enter a clear casting state after casting any fire, frost or nature damage spell. The clear casting state reduces the mana cost of your next damage spell by 100%. So basically, you've got a 10% chance on your spell cast to give your next spell cast 0 mana cost, which is nice. But what they've changed it into now is Elemental Focus. So when you land a critical strike, so obviously Shaman is all about crit anyway. So with high amounts of crit, you're going to get lots and lots of spell mana reduction on all your spells. So now it's after landing a critical strike with a fire, frost or nature damage spell, you enter a clear casting state. The clear casting state reduces the mana cost of your next 2 damage spells by 40%. Apologies if there's some choppy editing in this. I'm at home on my own with 2 kids that are running around, so I'll try and edit them out as best as I can. But for any of you who've got kids, you probably feel my pain. So yeah, with the current Elemental Focus, the way it is, it's nice, but you technically could go quite a while with. Sorry, this is one of them now. One in a bag of crisps. You could go quite a while without, without getting a proc, so you're not really going to be getting any saving from them. Whereas with Elemental Focus, the way it is in TBC, you're going to be critting a lot, so you'll be chaining this, keeping it up. It really helps with your mana. So that's all I really need to say about that. The rest in this tier is exactly the same. Then when we move down to the next tier, so no changes, just an icon change for some reason, which I'm sure someone may even have an explanation for why they've changed the icon, but just having a brief look around like I normally do, I can't see anything. So Eye of the Storm is exactly the same. When you get crit, you know, it stops your pushback, spell pushback from damage. But yeah, as I say, it's got a nice new icon now. So nothing too exciting there. So then we go on to Unrelenting Storm in the next tier, which is obviously very nice. So that's a complete new addition. So when we look at the classic talents, we've still got Elemental Fury, we've still got Storm Reach, they're still both there, but now we've had a completely new talent added, which regenerates mana. Yeah, so 10% of your intellect every 5 seconds, even while casting. So again, you know, they've identified an issue. This sort of goes back to what I was saying about when I was doing the Druid video. You know, there's an issue with mana for Elemental and Boomkin specifically, to be fair. Which, you know, has been addressed, and that's why you got lots of these mana, you know, either mana per 5 or mana reduction, like that clear casting, for example, that's changed. So yeah, all in all, pretty good addition. You know, getting that extra mana per 5. Then we move down to the next tier. So we've got Elemental Precision that's been added. So completely new talent. Obviously, if we look on the classic one, you can see, you know. Hang on, where was I looking? Yeah, next talent. So yeah, Lightning Mastery is still there, but in Classic, worth noting, so reduces the cast time of your Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning by 0.2, so that reduces it by a second. In TBC, it only reduces it by half a second, but that's because the actual baseline casting speed of it has been reduced as well. So in Classic, the baseline of it is 3 seconds. In TBC, it's 2.5. So talent remains technically unchanged, really. All they've done is just, you know, amended the amount that it reduces just to bring it in line to a 2-second cast. Then we've got a completely new addition, so Elemental Precision. So increases your chance to hit with Fire, Frost and Nature spells by 6% and reduces threat. Obviously very nice, yeah, getting 6% hit. Again, getting hit in Classic is very difficult, especially at lower tiers. By the time you're in sort of tier 6, and well, actually, by the time you're in phase 4, I meant, when you get Bloodvine set, for example. So, you know, you start getting lots of hit and well itemized gear from the likes of Zolgara, but then obviously as the raids progress on from there, you know, hit it becomes more common. But being able to get 6% just baseline from here is lovely, and you also actually get another 3%, which we'll go into in a little bit. So yeah, that's the Elemental Precision. Then when we move down, so Elemental Shields, so just some damage reduction that's been added. So currently you've got Elemental Mastery, which has remained unchanged, but then they've stuck this talent next to it, which reduces the chance that you'll be critically hit by melee and range attacks by 2%, 3 points, so 6% in total. That's, you know, a PvP talent. They've made Elemental, well, and Enhancement, to be fair, very viable by just adding these little, sort of little filler talents, if you like, in. But to say they're filler talents, they are actually really nice. So, you know, 6% less chance of being crit. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Whether you would take it up or not, sorry, just got to pop up there. Thanks, Josh Hartigan, for saying that it's great audio quality. See if you say that after this video that I'm putting out now, when you got screaming kids in the background. But thanks anyway. Where was we? He's put me off. So, oh yeah, then Lightning Overload, obviously, completely new addition, and an amazing addition. So there's been a bit of a running theme for all these videos where, in some specs, the 5 points before you get your final talent have been a bit lackluster, if you like, but this is lovely. You know, obviously it stays with Elemental Shaman for as long as I've played the game anyway. So it gives you Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning spells a 4% chance to make a second similar spell, no additional cost, and it causes half damage and no threat. So, you know, 20% chance to just get a 50% power Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning, whatever you cast. Obviously, you'll know, as if you're a Shaman and you're watching this and you've played more than just Classic, you know, when you do big Chain Lightnings and then it procs and you get another one free, it's awesome. Like, it's going to be brilliant. So yeah, amazing talent. And then you get Totem of Wrath, so 3% hit So 3% chance to hit and critically strike with spells by 3%. So this is the other 3% that I was talking about. So just from talents and your end totem, you're getting 9% hit. And then you can also get another 3% from resto talents, but we're going to get to those shortly. So you're in a really good place. If you go elemental resto, you're talking you can get 12% hit just from talents, which is it's crazy. We're not used to that. We're used to struggling to get hit, and now you're just getting it given to you all over the place. And this is what brings these specs in and makes them more viable. So yeah, totem increases chance to hit and critically strike with spells by 3%. Lovely. So let's move on to enhancement. I am trying to burn through this as quick as possible because I am conscious I don't want to keep putting out 40-45 minute videos. I know some of you like them in depth, obviously, which is fine, but the majority of people just want to know the changes and just move on to carrying on farming Gnomeregon if you're a druid. But so enhancement changes. I'm actually enhancement spec'd on this in a minute, and there'll be some footage of me running around killing on it. It's only in green gear, but it's a lot of fun. But if I was to play a Shaman, I'd play enhancement, definitely. Although I may be tempted to level as elemental, just because it's fun as well. It's a great class overall in TBC. So tier 1 and tier 2 are the same. So again, I'm not going to read through any of this because you can look at it on Wowhead on the talent calculator and see that it's exactly the same. So tier 3, so two-handed specializations change. So at the moment, you need a talent to be able to use two-handed weapons. You're not really going to be using two-handed weapons because you're going to be dual wielding, which is a further down talent. So in its place, so in Classic you've got two-handed specialization. In TBC you get after landing a melee critical strike, you enter a focus state. The focus state reduces the mana cost of your next shock spell by 60%. So here we go again. Enhancement. Historically in Classic, even though historically in Classic in a PvE scenario it's not really very good, but mana's an issue, and now mana's becoming less of an issue because Blizzard are looking after you. So tier 4, toughness has changed, that's it really. So rather than it just being 10% armor, you're now getting the duration of movement slowing effects on you reduced by 10% per point, which is amazing, obviously, for PvP, arenas. It makes you're very mobile anyway, because of Ghost Wolf and things like that. So yeah, just a nice addition for PvP viability. Next tier is exactly the same as well, but parry, so spirit weapons it's called, and I don't believe it's called that it's just called parry in Classic at the moment. So now parry's been changed to spirit weapons, so you still get the parry, obviously that's the whole point of the talent, but the threat you generate by your melee attacks is also reduced by 30%, so just some threat reduction, which for PvE is very nice. Sorry, little girl's just making a lot of noise with some biscuits. I don't know if the mic's picking it up, hopefully not too much. It's bad enough they annoy me, I don't want them having to annoy you guys as well, or girls. So next tier, so mental quickness, which is nice. So this is a completely new addition. So if we look on the Classic talent calculator, here we are. Now we're moving down to this tier, so where you've got weapon mastery at the moment, and you're getting the 10% damage for 5 points. Now they've still got that, obviously that's still there, but they've also added mental quickness, which reduces the mana cost of instant cast Shaman spells by 6% and increases your spell damage and healing by an amount equal to 30% of your attack power. So obviously that's lovely. You want lots of spell power anyway, but the fact that now you can get it from attack power is pretty cool. But we'll go into sort of the stats and that you want to be stacking a little bit later on. Then what have we got? So moving down, okay. So the next tier I believe is the same. Let me have a look. Oh no, so it is pretty much the same on the as in you've got Storm Strike and you've still got Storm Strike in Classic, but now you get dual wield, which is going to be what you use. Dual wield is awesome, but so now you just get a load of hit as well from dual wield specialization, which is obviously very nice. Again, you can actually the same applies for rogues, enhancement shamans, rets, whatever melee class you want to talk about. The main I didn't mention there, I think, is rogue and warrior, but never mind. We don't like them anyway. So dual wield specialization 6%, and as I say, you're going to get another 3% from resto in a little while as well. So you can get special attack hit capped, literally just from talents. So then you just need to get a little bit of expertise to get rid of the dodge chance of your abilities as well, and you're in a really, really good place. So then moving on, so Unleash Rage, amazing, obviously amazing buff. So cause your critical hits with melee attacks to increase all party members' melee attack power by 10%. Within 20 yards, last 10 seconds. You're going to be critting a lot. You're going to be critting every 10 seconds without a doubt, unless you're naked with no weapons, going unarmed. Not sure why you would do that. So you're gonna be critting, so you're gonna keep that buff up. So as a feral druid, I want a shaman in my group without a shadow of a doubt. And then the last one again, just to help with your mana, so reduces all damage taken by 30%. So it's a nice cooldown as well, nice DPS cooldown, nice mitigation cooldown. But it also gives your successful melee attacks a chance to regenerate mana equal to 30% of your attack power. So now, if you're nearly you'll pop it, you start getting mana back, so you can carry on casting your shocks and everything. But use this cleverly, and then you can use it for both its purposes. So if you know there's big damage about to come in, you're on 30% mana, something like that. You want to manage this cooldown really well, because you can reduce all the damage you take and get the mana. You really want to be trying to get the best out of this ability, because it's gonna serve you very, very well. So that's Enhancement. Again, Enhancement, Elemental, they're both in a really good place. Let's move over to Resto. This is going to be very, very quick, because Resto not really changed that much, to be fair. So first tier, still the same. Second tier is still the same. There's nothing even notable worth mentioning when the tiers stay exactly the same, really, because odds are, if you're watching this video, you're already playing a Shaman. You've probably been playing it since the beginning of the Classic, and you know your talents. So you only need the changes highlighted. So tier 3 added a Dispel Resist, which is quite nice. So to Healing Grace, everything else is the same except for Healing Grace, which reduces your threat generated. Now also reduces the chance that your spells will be dispelled. So very much to stop Earth Shield being dispelled, mainly I would say, and that is in it's in because it's a bit of a PvP talent. It's just trying to make all the specs viable in PvP and PvE. Tier 4, exactly the same still, Tidal Mastery and Restorative Totems, so that's all the same. Tier 5, so added Focus Mind, so this is, if we look here where you've got, on the Classic one, you've got Healing Way, which again, they changed the icon. But Healing Surge hasn't come in yet, because I looked, it's the wrong way round, but they've gave it the Healing Surge icon from later expansions. I don't know what I was thinking. There's probably a reason, and if you know the reason, please let me know in the comments, because it would be nice to be educated. So Focus Mind reduces the duration of any silence or interrupt effect based against the Shaman by 10%. This effect doesn't stack with similar effects. So again, just a PvP talent, but very nice nonetheless. Next tier is exactly the same. Then tier 7, so you've had Nature's Guardian added. You can see a bit of a theme going here, particularly with Resto. So when damage is taken, it reduces you below 30% health. You have a 10% chance to heal 10% of your total health. Blah blah blah. So I mean, it's gonna have its uses in PvE as well, when there's big raid damage or anything like that, like raid wide damage that that even you're going to be taking. But it's still a PvP talent, so we can just skip over it. That it is what it is. Nature's Blessing, so just a nice flat out increase to your healing, so increases your spell damage and healing by an amount equal to 10% of your intellect, so going to be 30% with 3 points. Very nice. Improved Chain Heal, so increases the amount healed by your Chain Heal by 10%, 2 points, so 20%. Again, Chain Heal is very strong in TBC. So you're going to get a lot of benefit out of these 2 points. Then Earth Shield, so your final talent, which is very nice. So protects the target with an earthen shield, given a 30% chance of ignoring spell interruption when damaged and causing attacks to heal the shielded target for 150. The effect can only occur every few seconds. 6 charges, last 10 minutes. Earth Shield can only be placed on one target at a time, and only one Elemental Shield can be active on a target at a time. So you're going to keep this on the tank 99% of the time. I'm sure there's going to be the odd situation where maybe the spell interruption is going to be more valuable, so it might go on a mage or something. But let's be realistic, the majority of the time you're going to be putting this on a tank. In a nutshell, that's the talents, and yeah, as I say, in a really good place. I think all three are really good. I love the amount of hit and that elemental and enhancement have got, and mana. Mana sort of aiding talents, which is good. They've identified the main problems is mana and hit, and you've got it all. You've got it all as elemental or enhancement. So, and obviously Resto's always going to be a good healer, solid. Bringing totems like the other two specs, but having a healer that brings totems is arguably more valuable. So, yep, let's move on to new abilities. So I'm only going to cover the abilities that come new leveling between 60 and 70. I'm not going to talk about the abilities that you get in talent. So fire elemental totem. Let's start with that. Well, actually, we'll just go through the book, yes, in order. So fire elemental totem. So summons an elemental totem that calls forth a greater fire elemental to rain destruction on the caster's enemies. Bit dramatic, but yeah, very good. 20-minute cooldown. Shame the cooldown's so long, because it is actually a really good DPS cooldown for all three specs. Now, even if you're a resto, why wouldn't you use this? It's got a 20-minute cooldown. If you're on a boss that's hard, or it's a quite a tight sort of gear check or DPS check, then yeah, throw out some extra damage and help people out. So then next we've got Wrath of Air. Oh, Wrath of Air totem. I actually completely forgot about that. I'm assuming that comes under Resto. No, Enhancement. Yeah, so Wrath of Air. So a totem summons a Wrath of Air totem with 5 health at the feet of the caster, and just increases spell damage and healing increased by 101. Amazing, lovely, because obviously currently air totem wise, you're either using Wind Fury or you're using like Grace of Air. At least now you've got a caster specific totem, air totem as well. So if you're a Resto Shaman in a caster group and you've already got an Enhancement Shaman in a melee group, this is brilliant. So then Heroism or Bloodlust, depending on what faction you are. So Heroism for Alliance and Bloodlust for Horde. So increases melee range, spellcasting speed, blah blah blah, by 30% for all party members. Last 40 seconds. So obviously, amazing. So yeah, even though heroism's only party wide, odds are you're gonna have a few shamans in your raids anyway. You're gonna want one with a melee group, maybe two. 2 melee groups, one in each. You're gonna want a Resto Shaman in your ranged group, or an elemental shaman with them, whatever. Either way, a lot of people are going to benefit from heroism. Unless you've only got a couple of shamans, then you want to choose wisely who are your best DPS, who's going to benefit from it the most, and yeah, make sure you place them in the right groups. And then lastly, the other ability that got added is Water Shield, which I've got on now. So Water Shield's really good, actually, even as enhancement. When I'm running around, I don't bother with Lightning Shield, I run around with Water Shield on, because it just keeps me going constantly. So you're surrounded by 3 globes of water, granting 50 mana per 5. When a spell, melee or ranged attack hits the caster, 200 mana is restored. And then it gets rid of a globe. So obviously, you need to put it up quite frequently, but every time you cast it, it's free to cast. You're getting 50 mana per 5, and then 200 mana back every time you hit. So for a free spell, you're getting 600 mana back. It's really nice. Nothing much more to say there. Amazing for all 3 specs. So they're the new abilities. Now let's just do what we normally do and have a look at what effect do your new talents and abilities have on your rotation. So the rotations are very easy for all 3 specs, to be fair. I'm not going to go into a Resto rotation because Resto is just don't let people die. But I will go into Elemental and Enhancement. So we'll start with Enhancement. If I didn't have Red Sickness, I'd go and kill something and sort of demonstrate. And I've also not got macros set up. So let me just want to really briefly talk about Totem Twisting first, because the spec I am relies on Totem Twisting. So what totem twisting is when you put Wind Fury totem down for the group, for your group that you're in, it's a 9-second buff. So if you watch, I put it down, you get that 9-second buff. If I then change it immediately for Grace of Air, you keep the buff. So basically every 9 seconds, as it's about to run off, if you look at the top right, I've put it back on again, and then put my totems down. Yeah, you literally just have to keep. You'd use a macro, but you immediately change it. You keep the Wind Fury buff up, but then also give them the Grace of Air, so the 77 agility. So it takes a bit of getting used to. You're going to want some good add-ons to track it, but that's something that you want to start getting used to ASAP, because if you was raiding with me, I would expect you to do it. So that's totem twisting. Again, when we go into an actual Shaman guide, in-depth guide, I'll provide macros and everything else. But for now, we can just leave it at that. So basic rotation for enhancement. So you want to keep your totems up. So have your totems down, and then you're going to use Storm Strike and Earth Shock on cooldown, whilst using obviously Shamanistic Rage, as I mentioned earlier, as sort of a defensive cooldown, but also to stop yourself from going ohm. And keep Flame Shock up on the target at all times. That's literally it. But you see big numbers. You're buffing the party a lot. So even though it's probably arguably a bit of a mundane, it gets more interesting when you got more targets and you start putting like Fire Nova totem down or something like that as well, just for a bit of extra damage. But yeah, it's not a difficult rotation. But that's the basics of it. So Flame Shock on the target, Storm Strike and Earth Shock as much as you can, Shamanistic Rage to stop yourself from going ohm, and then obviously Totem Twist all the way through to buff the party, just to add even more value and reason for people to take you to a raid. Elemental, again, Elemental's very, very easy, but you are going to see some big numbers, so it's going to be fun. So keep Water Shield up all the time as Elemental, very important for your mana regen, of course. You won't really use Flame Shock. You'll only really put Flame Shock up if you was moving. It sims in quite low levels of gear anyway. It sims as a DPS loss. So all you'll literally do is just Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt, and then as much as your mana allows, throw in a Chain Lightning as well. But a Lightning Bolt is 282 mana. A Chain Lightning is 714. So with low levels of gear, you'll basically be going Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning. So 3 Lightning Bolts for a Chain Lightning. Once you get about 10-11% haste, around that sort of mark, you'll be able to get 4 Lightning Bolts out and then a Chain Lightning. It's going to be a lot more intensive on your mana, obviously, but as you're getting that sort of haste level, you're probably in relatively decent-ish gear, where you'll be able to sustain it, hopefully. Because you want to make sure you've got a lot of crit as well, because crit's really going to help your sort of mana consumption during a fight. That's it. That's it, really. You won't use Earth Shock unless you're using it as an interrupt. You won't use Flame Shock unless you're moving, just to still keep some damage going. I mean, if you're moving just from one spot to the other, as in, let's say you're moving 4 or 5 yards, you might want to actually just Earth Shock. It might be a high DPS game, but again, this will come down to what your gear's like, and even the resistance of the boss that you're fighting as well, to be fair. So all things that are worth thinking about, but as I say, that's briefly what it is. Resto we're not going to go over, because there's no point. Resto is just a reactive, it's a healer, so if someone's taking damage, just heal them. The down ranking's more or less going to be a thing of the past, so yeah, you're not going to worry about that either. I will just briefly put up on screen now the specs. So I'll put the elemental spec that's on. There's bits that you can move around, but that's more or less the best DPS spec for elemental, particularly in lower levels of gear, I would say. The enhancement spec that's on screen now. This is the totem twisting spec, so it's the one that I would recommend playing. There is another spec where you actually go down into elemental, but that removes your ability to totem twist, and if you can't totem twist effectively, then I personally think your spot as an enhancement in the raid should maybe be replaced for somebody who will totem twist. So in the resto spec, there's a lot of stuff that just comes down to personal preference that you can just move around. So I'm not going to go into that too much, but yeah, if you was to go with one of these specs when TBC releases, you're going to be in a fairly good place, I'm sure. And also just stat priorities. I've put this in some videos and not in others, but I'll just put on screen now. At the top is the enhancement stat priorities, and then at the bottom is the elemental stat priorities. These, are likely to change with different levels of gear, like I always say, so that's why it's important. You need to be simming your character. It's not as important in Classic, because I think in Classic the limitations on gear, it is quite high anyway. But in TBC, there's a lot more raids, there's a lot more items, a lot different itemizations, lots of reps, you need to be simming your character to understand exactly what you should be going for in the gear set that you're setting. So, with that out of the way, we'll go to PvP and PvE viability. So, all three specs viable in both, I would say. I'd say enhancement, out of the three specs when it comes to PvP, is the least viable. You could still do it if you're a very good player, good shaman, you could definitely do it. But given the choice between elemental PvP, enhancement PvP, I could get shot down for this, but I would say elemental probably is a fair decent way ahead as well. And resto shamans in PvP. To be fair, all the healers are viable. I would still say Druid is probably the best PvP healer in TBC, but I may be being biased because I'm a Druid, but that and a Paladin. The Paladin's always strong, particularly in 2s, and maybe even up to 3s. Going past 2s and 3s, up to 5s, I think that's where the healer meta shifts a little bit. Maybe more towards the favour of priests and shamans, actually. Especially if you've got like sort of a quite a heavy melee comp that you're playing, then yeah, a shaman, priest, either of those would be a good choice. For PvE, all three specs are viable. I'm not saying an enhancement shaman is going to be, well, actually I am saying an enhancement shaman is going to be capable of topping damage meters, because I think enhancement out of all of the melees self-buffed. So that means you're not giving the other melees Wind Fury, on an individual basis. Shamans are probably first or second and highest on single target DPS. So you're going to be in a good place. You will be pumping some big numbers out, without a doubt. Elemental probably falls behind some of the other casters, but they bring a lot of utility. They can still do big damage. They're sought after in the raids for that 3% hit and 3% crit totem. There's no reason not to take an elemental shaman. In fact, I think every caster group, or at least one of your caster groups, should have an elemental shaman in it. So yeah, viability wise, absolutely, definitely viable. Moving on to just closing this off now with my thoughts. My thoughts are very, very positive about shamans. But they always have been. I leveled a shaman very, very quickly after. Why have I not actually got two weapons on? What a noob. I leveled a shaman quite quickly after the TBC launch, so I got my druid to 70, and I would say I think my first level 70 ult was actually a shaman, but it was flavour in a month when everybody wanted a shaman that played Alliance, because they never had access to it before. So, but it's fun. It's a fun class. You're gonna be able to do a lot of fun stuff. I like Ghost Wolf. Some key things I like. Yeah, Ghost Wolf. I like the infinite sort of grinding potential. Or you're not going to be AoE grinding like a mage or something like that, but like that. I mean, look at how quick that died. And I appreciate that's only 61, but you get some really big hits. Just a fun class overall. If you think I've forgot anything, and obviously heroism. Actually, I'll just mention heroism. The fact that you can bring that to a party again. We want shamans. Every guild's going to want shamans. So, yeah, my thoughts on it are you should be if you're not playing a druid, you should be playing a shaman. But obviously, I'm going to say druid first. So, that's it really. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you've watched all the way to the end, make sure you like, subscribe, check out the giveaway, all that stuff that I say every single time. Let me know in the comments what class you want me to do next. I might not get one out tomorrow, but I would. So tomorrow being Wednesday, the 8th of April, 2020. But I should definitely get one out on the Thursday. I'm aiming to get one out tomorrow night, if I'm honest, but I've got a raid tonight, so I'll be live streaming. Might not get much more time to do any editing or filming today. But yeah, let me know in the comments what one you want to see next, and I'll see you on the next one.